Hello, everyone. Today we are talking all things Christmas. Now, for some of you, you'll be thinking, yeah, it's Christmas time. We can start planning Christmas. But there will also be others of you, I'm sure, who have been in the business for a long time who are thinking, oh, another Christmas. What am I going to talk about? How are we going to make this one special? It feels like it comes around every year, and trying to keep it novel is not an easy task. So, we're sitting down today to have a conversation about how you can make this Christmas a memorable one and one that engages your community in a way like it's never done before. I'm here with Duncan, or Dad, as I like to call him. And the reason I asked Dad to have this conversation with me is because for 30 years, Duncan was the teaching pastor at a local church. He started his own church around a kitchen table with a bunch of friends, which grew into a big church in Banbury in Oxfordshire. And I had the privilege of participating and watching lots of these Christmas services that Dad put on, and they were always spectacular. I was wondering, Duncan, if you could share maybe a favourite memory from one of the church services that you were part of putting on. Before you do, I'd like to share my favourite. I remember when I must have been 12 or 13 probably, and we used to do like a Christmas production most Christmases, and there was songs and dancing and all that sort of stuff. And I remember that we had rigged a fake snow blanket up in the rafters of the stage, but it was before the days of sort of electric snow machines and stuff. So I remember sitting under the stage with a friend, waiting for two or three specific cues throughout the service, where we would hear someone say the word and we would pull this string as hard as we could, and the snow would flurry down, and people would think, "Ooh, there's the movie magic." But I remember the fun and anticipation of being under that stage and everyone filling the room, not knowing you were there, and that was exciting. How about you? Have you got a favourite, a memorable one?
I mean, let's be honest, Matt. We're talking about Christmas at the moment, and it's July, and it's 25 degrees, and I've got this Christmas hat on, but I'm sweating like a pig, so I'm taking that off. So yeah, it's weird talking about it in July, but when we used to put these services on, we would plan them in July. We wouldn't plan them in November because we wanted plenty of lead-in time. Because for us, your Christmas service is like your FA Cup final. Do you know what I mean? There's your regular Sunday by Sunday league matches, which you put as much effort in as you can. But come Christmas, it was the big one. So we put a lot of effort and we started planning months and months in advance. I remember you lying under that stage, pulling the ropes for the snow to come down, and I remember I remember you had to do it for three services. So it wasn't just one. I think one of my abiding memories was the team. People talk about how difficult it was to get volunteers, but we made a real fuss of the team. So we cooked them Christmas dinner between the morning and the evening services. We bought them all Christmas gifts, and it got to such a stage where people were begging me to be on the team for Christmas. It was never difficult getting people on the team for Christmas, and we would have lots and lots of fun putting budget line for volunteer appreciation around Christmas time into the services. So that was always good fun.
Yeah, I remember the nights before these services would kick off. We would all be in there setting up, and there would be someone who always did the sort of border around the stage to make it look magical. And because we were doing church in rural Suffolk, I remember there was always a farmer that would come with a truckload of hay bales that we would fill the stage with, and it felt very magical. It was definitely a Christmas tradition for everyone, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It was a Christmas in a barn.
Yeah, that's it. So, as people are sitting down, maybe not quite as madly as we were in June talking about Christmas, but as we're getting close to planning Christmas, we're going to chat through some ways to make this Christmas service maybe a bit different, maybe a bit more memorable, and definitely something that is geared as much as possible towards reaching people who don't usually come to church, and also keeping them, sticking them around in January, because we all know those stories of people who have come to church for the past 20 years at Christmas but never made it back through the door in January. And ultimately, that's what we're wanting for people, isn't it? So, kicking off with your first thought, I would love to know, when you're talking about advertising and how you get people in the door, what are you thinking around advertisement?
So this might be a new thought and a controversial thought for some, but we moved away from calling it our church at Christmas. I don't know, maybe for you're thinking of saying, come and experience Christmas at Bedford Christian Centre or Bedford Baptist Church or whatever it might be. What about less making it about what's happening Christmas wise at your church and more about making it a community event, not a church event? And I know that's a bit radical, but what if you called it say you were in Bedford, what if you called it Christmas in Bedford? And you invited some of the local dignitaries into it as well, and you made it a much more community event. So you design your social media, your local advertising about Christmas in our village or in our town or in our city, and take your name like off the center of the advertising and put it towards the bottom of the advertising. And the result that we found is that if you make it with the community in mind, the community love it because they feel like they own it. But especially your church people will love it, especially when they start seeing their friends and work colleagues from the community that are coming in. So why not this year instead of saying experience Christmas at so and so Baptist church or so and so Anglican church? Why not say this is a Christmas community event? I just think it's a different spin, but it makes them own it, not us own it, and that's a win for outsiders, I think.
Yeah, that sounds great. Trying to invite someone to come to church is sometimes a difficult sell, isn't it? But saying come to this Christmas event at my local church and all the branding being about the community and being about their space, that's a barrier removed, isn't it, for a lot of people?
I think so. You know, we used to have the local Salvation Army band playing carols outside. You can get vendors that come and do coffee or mulled wine or whatever Christmas drinks that are from the local bakery, the local community. You could have a little in the lobby if you've got a big enough lobby area in church. You could have local stores and things selling their Christmas trinkets or showing off their Christmas trinkets and things. And so you can genuinely make it a community-minded event.
I like that. It feels like playing that host who's there looking after their guests rather than those hosts that are trying to impress people with the things they put on. I like that
Exactly.
shift. That's good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in that same vein, Christmas is a time both where the church can be open in its advertising to reach more people, but it's also a time when people who are typically a part of our church Sunday to Sunday are more likely to invite their friends that they see at the school gate or at the football ground, standing on the touchline. So how do we help those people in our church be inviting in the easiest, smoothest way possible?
Yeah, good question. I think there are two things. I think we've got to make it easy for people to come to church, number one. And number two, we've got to make it easy for our people to invite their friends to church. And I think so often church gets this wrong because we don't make it easy. We don't make it easy for people to come to church. It's a bit like going down the high street and seeing a big store. But in order to get in the store, you've got to go down some steps, you've got to jump over a big puddle. You've got to find a security code to get through that. I mean, nobody would do that. You want to take all the barriers away so people can easily walk into the church. So we've got to make it easy for people to come to church. And one of the ways we did that is we created a bespoke page on the website with a very simple Christmas RL, URL rather, Christmas in Bedford.com or whatever it might be. A very simple memory. And on there, you just put all the details about the Christmas service, about where to park, about what time it starts, about how long it's going to be, about what people can expect. And it's all there on a bespoke Christmas page. And you can advertise that one page rather than people going to your website and having 45 clicks before they can find anything about Christmas. The other thing that we did is we ticketed the event. And you can do it through Eventbrite, which is free as long as you're not charging. We made it obviously a free event, but what the tickets did, it was in one sense it was good because it helped us to balance out. We had 3 or 4 different services on a Sunday, and if everybody wanted to come at 10:30, we couldn't get everybody in. So it helped us to balance it out. But more than that, more than kind of numbers, it gave people a commitment to attend. So if I said, "Hey Matt, I've got you a ticket for the Christmas in it," and actually gave you the ticket, I emailed you the ticket, even though you haven't paid for it, there's more of a compulsion for you to show up and use the ticket that you've been given. So tickets really, really helped us. The other thing that made it easy for people to come was to offer multiple service times. So you might double in size over Christmas on your Christmas services, and you might be able to squeeze everybody into the building, and it might feel great for you that there's a packed room. But actually, what's easier is Christmas is busy for people, and if you can do a service early in the morning, mid morning, in the afternoon. I mean, we used to do 4 on Christmas, and we would do one in the evenings. And the evening one was always really good fun because it was the older kids. It wasn't quite so manic, and it was just beautiful. And you could kick back a little bit as well. So I would offer multiple service times so that people can hit the times that works for them. And also, the other thing, like I said, is we've got to make it easier for our church people, they're our best marketing tools. You know, for me to invite my neighbors, my friends, as the pastor of the church, the pastor doesn't know any of my neighbors, the pastor doesn't know my friends, but he or she can help me to invite my neighbors and friends by giving me some tools. I think in the marketing world, I don't know if they still call it this, but they used to call it EPKs, electronic press kits. You know, you would have a kit that was electronic that was there for you to use to advertise. So we need to give things to our people to enable them to advertise. It might be an email template. It might be a link to the website. It might be some really sticky, shareable social media posts. Not like, hey, everybody, I'm the pastor, come to church on Sunday. I mean, no one's going to share that. But if it's a bit silly, a bit funny, a bit unexpected, a bit quirky, then maybe it will get shared. So create some shareable social media posts. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm in my 50s or my 60s, I can't think of these things. You've got some teenagers around. They would love it if you said to them, figure out some, I want 10 really shareable viral social media posts that would uh, enable us to share what we're doing at Christmas. The other things that I've seen churches do around the world at Christmas time is to have these photo booths, family photo booths, and you actually employ a proper photographer to come and take pictures so that people can share those on Instagram. And it, you know, especially if you do it in the morning, it means people can, and it gets out onto the socials. People can come again in the evening, and then go old school as well. You know, have actual flyers. You know, maybe with a little Christmas chocolate button attached to it, or a tree decoration or something. But have some old school flyers that you can actually knock on your neighbour's door and give them a really well designed flyer with a bit of chocolate on, and say, "Why don't you come with me for Christmas?" The other thing I saw one, if it is our FA Cup final, if it's the time when most unchurched people come into our church, we should put budget behind it. So I think I was with you, Matt. We were in Dublin not long before Christmas, and one of our churches in Dublin, they'd done a really big campaign, and they had great strapline, really sticky, beautiful designs. They had posters all over the shopping centre. I think you and I were walking around the shopping centre, and there were posters on litter bins. There were big posters on walls. And take out some advertising like that. If people see it, they say, don't they, in advertising, people need to see something 5 or 6 times before it registers. They need to see it online, on a bus shelter, listen to it on a radio advert. So the more people get to know it, the more people think, oh, this is Christmas at Bedford, in Bedford is a big thing. I need to come along to that. So we need to help our people with some really useful things, not just expect them to invite their friends, but say, hey, here's some tools to help you to do that and to do it really well.
Yeah, that's great. The pros and cons of the social media age is it's more easy than ever to get your marketing out there. The con is it's like trying to advertise to the entire world, and
Mm.
most of the world don't want to know about Christmas in Bedford, do they? But we create a social media post or a video from the past, and we stick it up online, and then we wonder why people don't show up. But the joy of being a local church is you are trying to serve the local community, aren't you? So
Yeah.
you have this ability to post things like physical copies in high traffic areas, or give leaflets to people. The other thing that really struck me about what you said is that idea of using your people to invite their friends and family. Because the sort of trick to all marketing, the thing that marketers desperately want, is to build trust with their audience. And I think sometimes churches, as we all do, feel like it's our job. We need to build trust with our community. We need to make them like us so that they'll come to our services. But we forget that we already have people in our church who have trust in the community. They're good neighbors, and they're good friends, and they're good colleagues. And it's so much easier to leverage their good relationship, and people are more likely to come if it's, John and Tracy saying, come to my event, rather than if it's some church leader that no one's heard of in the community. There's already that trust built up there, isn't there?
And,
Um,
and yeah, you're absolutely right, Matt. But I often sit and hear pastors stand on stage saying, invite your friends to this event, Christmas or whatever it might be. And they'll say things like, so on our Christmas services, we've got services at 9:30, 11:30, and 6:30, and you can get tickets at www.bedfordchurch.com. And then I'm so go and invite your friends. And I'm thinking, hang on a bit, what time were they? Was it 11? Was it 12? I can't, what were the times and where do I get a ticket? I can't. But if you've helped me, so if you say invite your friends, here's a email template. You can download it all from here on the QR code on the screen right now. Here's an email template. Here's some shareable posts. Here's a flyer you can attach to an email. You can pick up some flyers at the back. All the details are there. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've helped me, and I can go away and think, right, I feel equipped now. I've got stuff in my back pocket or digitally that I can use to invite my neighbours and my friends.
Yeah, yeah, and that goes back to what you were saying about having a dedicated web page just for the event. I think for a lot of people, the unknown makes it difficult to invite, isn't it? So if you say we're doing a Christmas thing, then your people are kind of thinking, is that going to be a 50-minute talk? Is it going to
Yeah,
be something that's like a bit insidery that makes people feel uncomfortable? Like, this isn't just like a random invite. I'm inviting someone that I care about, and if this looks bad, it looks bad on me. So
yeah.
having laid out, we're going to be doing some songs, we're going to be doing a fun game, we're going to be having a short talk about this, then people kind of know, oh, okay, that I could invite a friend to that, and especially if you throw in things like the photo booth, or we're going to have mulled wines and mince pies afterwards. There's like that. There's some you kind of know what to expect, so it's less of an intimidating thing to invite people, right?
Takes the barriers away, doesn't it? It's really important. I mean, I would say on any advertising you do, put how long you're going to take. We're going to be, come and experience the 75-minute Christmas extravaganza or 60-minute Christmas extravaganza. People want to know. I mean, I can remember you, Matt, when you were a little kid. I used to go to your primary school recitals or whatever they used to be, end of term shows and that. And you'd get a program and there'd be 32 acts, and you think, goodness me, how long is this going to be? And why were you always act number 30? Like I've got to sit through all these other kids that I'm sure they're lovely to their parents, but I don't give a monkeys about them to wait to see you. And it was like 2.5 hours. And I think, especially for men, I think men want to sit there and know, okay, it's tough for me coming to church. How long is this going to last for? Okay, it's just 60 minutes. I can cope with that. And we're going to sing some carols, have some mulled wine, and listen to a talk where actually the subject's quite interesting. Put the subject on the, how to get on with it, how to not have a fight with your relatives over Christmas dinner, and you can use that as a strapline and weave it into a talk.
Yeah, that's great. The other thing that I was thinking about with the ticketing thing, I remember we had tickets online, so you could go online, you could purchase your tickets. We also used to print out colourful little tickets, didn't we, that we would have at the
Mm.
back of the room. So you could say to your audience that was there, the people that are there week in, week out, your congregation, go online, buy your tickets. If you want to email them to people, feel free to do that. But if you want to go and pick up 10 really nicely designed, colourful little tickets that you can actually go and hand to a neighbor, or actually go and hand to someone that you meet at work or whatever. Um, that was that was just a great way of sort of giving people someone, especially people who are of a slightly older generation. If you're giving it to grandparents or that sort of thing, actually having something physical to come to an event
Yeah,
at makes them feel like they're already booked in, doesn't it? Rather
yeah, yeah.
than just saying, I've already got you a ticket. And
I mean, you work for us in the whole capacity of marketing and content creation and that kind of stuff. So you would know this better than me. But isn't there a way in which, say, whoever this amorphous Bedford Christian church is, there probably is a Bedford Christian church, I don't know about, but if you're in Bedford, surely through digital marketing, you can target just people in Bedford or young families in Bedford. There are ways, and it's, as far as I'm aware, like Facebook marketing and things, you don't need a Disney budget to do it.
no, absolutely. If you have a small enough location, digital marketing is super cheap. It's very rarely, like you said, people need to see stuff multiple times. So it's very rarely the silver bullet that gets people there. But if you go to invite a friend to a Christmas event and they say, "Oh yeah, I saw that on my Facebook timeline the other day," they're so much more like all the studies show they're so much more likely to come if they've already done that. And if you can tie those marketing things into other events that are going on in your community, if you have a Christmas tree light turn on or something in the
Mm.
middle of your town, if you know that that's on a certain date, rather than trying to pay loads of money to advertise at it or get a space on the stage, which you could do, and that's all great marketing if you can make that happen. But why not post? Why not run a social media campaign in that specific area in the town centre for that evening, and everyone in your community who is willing to go out to a Christmas event is going to see your event as well. So it
Yeah.
makes that invite so much easier next time round.
I know of one church in our network. That's great, man. One church that they have a big car park outside the front of their church, and so they a few years ago they invested quite a lot of money in one of those Trafalgar Square type massive trees, and they lit it and it looked beautiful. And so every year since, they've done the Christmas tree light turn on thing. And lots of people invite their friends. It's only kind of half an hour. It's fairly early in the evening. There's mulled wine and mince pies there, and a little choir singing carols and that. But it makes you feel very Christmassy, and it helps people to get over the barrier of coming to church. And they use that to invite people onto the services the following weekend. So simple things like that. You know, I live in a very rural location. There's one church here. It's not part of our network, but their big advertising is they do 50 Christmas trees. It's an old-fashioned 12th century church. They do 50 Christmas trees in the church every year. So you can go and wander around the church to all these different size trees with light. And just again, it makes you feel very Christmassy. And
Yeah,
I've done it. I've walked around, and as you walk around, they invite you to their big Christmas Eve carol service, you know.
yeah,
So there are other, like you say, it needs to be layered up. If it's one hit, no one's going to come. But if they hear it on the local radio, if they see a poster somewhere, if a friend gives them an email tag or a hard flyer, or they hear about the local radio about the Christmas light turn on outside the church, it all layers up to people coming. And I can tell you over 30 years of church ministry, story after story of people who first came to church. They might not have become Christians on Christmas Day, or around Christmas, but they first experienced church and experienced Jesus through Christmas. It's such an important thing to do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And we talk about it a lot in the network that even if someone isn't going to come to your church straight away, showing them love, treating them with value and dignity, making their life and their community better is just a good thing to do always. And it
Yeah,
does inevitably lead to trust and lead to relationship. And I know, like, especially now that I'm a parent, you want your kids to have these magical Christmas experiences, but life is expensive and things are hard. You know, it's hard to go out and do the Christmas at the garden centre with Santa, and it all costs money and all that sort of stuff. And
mm,
I remember having a conversation actually in one of our network churches with a lady who it was over Mother's Day, and they had put on this really lovely photo booth thing with a professional photographer. And I was talking to her about, does she usually come to church? And she said, no, I only ever come over Mother's Day, but it's because we can't afford to have nice family photos. We can't afford to pay for the photos at school with the kids. So every year, me and the kids get dressed up. We come, we get the photo, and we send it to the grandparents, and we get them
yeah,
printed and put on the wall and all that sort of stuff. And I just thought, even if that lady doesn't come back to church next week, the church has served her in a way that is, it's good for her family, it's good for her. It's just a great kindness to her and shows that we're for the people right in front of us.
yeah.
So that's a great thing to do at Christmas, putting on those Christmas lighting things and not charging for it and treating people with loads of dignity and respect. Like our world just gets better when our churches do that, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So my next question, this is a tricky one, especially for people who plan their services, and especially for people who are involved in the music. If you have music at your Sunday services, which I know a lot of people do, how do you tread the line between modern and traditional?
Do you know that's the question I get asked all the time about Christmas. And it's really hard. And I would say this is not going to be a helpful answer, but I'll dig into some detail. I would say don't be too modern and don't be too traditional,
Mm,
which is kind of daft, isn't it? But I think sometimes if we err on the side of being ultra modern, we miss the mark because nostalgia is huge when it comes to Christmas. So if you're ditching some of the Christmas traditions, people are going to be disappointed. I mean, we've done that. I've done that. Sometimes at Christmas, we put on a whole play, like an hour-long play once, and people came and they enjoyed the play. It was fun, but it was like we didn't sing, while shepherds wash their socks at night. Like, what's going on? It was a Christmas play, but I want the tradition of going to church and singing some carols. People want angels, people want shepherds, people want all that swaddling. And they want the carols to be unadulterated. Again, we've done this. We've had some brilliant musicians at church before, and I've said to them, just go mad at Christmas, and they've taken a traditional Christmas carol and turned it into a, 140 beats per minute kind of rap thing. And people are like, I just want to sing it properly. So make it glorious. It brings some brass in just for Christmas, or a saxophonist, or have two drum kits or what, rehearse the life out of it and make it amazing, those carols, but don't mess with them too much because people want to sing the traditional carols. That's what I say. So on the one hand, don't be too modern, but on the other hand, don't be too traditional. And this is why I say don't be too traditional. Sometimes if we're too traditional, Christmas can stay in the kind of Disney mode, the fantasy mode, the cozy, comfy, hot chocolate by a log fire type thing. And if we do that, people will miss this kind of earth-shattering arrival of the king into our world. That's raw, that's spiritual, that's historic, that's game changing, and people will miss that if we just wrap it in kind of a Mickey Mouse type feel. So I would say make Christmas unashamedly about the King arriving, about Jesus. So you can go traditional with the songs and rehearse them powerfully, and you can go traditional with Luke chapter 2. You can go traditional with the Christmas story, but there's a lot of relevant up to date teenage pregnancies in Luke chapter 2. Have you in your life had something that was so earth shattering and so ostracizing for the community as Jesus's mum? There's these rough shepherds. I mean, who on earth would have given the shepherds the task? These rough, unlistened to, they weren't allowed to testify in a court of law. They were considered nobodies, the bottom of the pile. Who would have thought they would be the first people to not just meet the baby and hear about the baby, but tell everybody else about the baby as well? So there's Luke chapter 2 is full of surprising, raw, relevant to today facts. Bring them to the surface. Don't be all cozy, comfy Disney around Christmas. So do you get what I mean there, Matt? Don't be too modern because people want traditional, but don't be too traditional that you miss the earth-shattering nature of the king coming to earth.
Yeah, I do. I read the other day someone talking about nostalgia actually, because nostalgia is really interesting. Sometimes it gets sort of poo-pooed as just, oh, that's just nostalgic. That's nice. It's a nice feeling. But there's something really special about feeling nostalgic when we watch an old movie or we like go to a place that's when you go to a grandparent's house and it's the same as when you were a kid. It takes you back to that feeling of being a child. And this guy was talking about how, one of Jesus's instructions is if you see the world through a child's eyes, it's easier to perceive the kingdom of God. And
Yeah.
nostalgia has this amazing power of putting you back at that, Christmas table when you were six and you just opened your presents and all that sort of stuff. And I do think there's a leaning into that nostalgia, not for tradition's sake, but because it helps us recapture that childlike approach to the world and the wonder of things going on. You need to have that openness to wonder and magic to really appreciate what's going on in the Christmas story, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because it is wondrous. Do you know
Mm.
what I mean? It's one of the greatest stories that's ever been told, and it's somehow trying to find, and creative people do that so well. They find these beautiful moments from traditional stories that seem relevant to us today. It's why if you go and watch a Shakespeare play that was written 400 or 500 years ago, people with costume and with storyline bring the story relevant to today. And I think we have a responsibility of taking a 2,000-year-old story, 2 millennia-year-old story, and saying, so how does that apply to my life today?
That's good. So it sounds like maybe the question, do we go traditional, do we go modern, might be the wrong question. It's more how do we make that story come alive in a way that honors the fact that we want people to feel childlike and the tradition is really important. But we also don't want the tradition to become a box that keeps all the meaning trapped inside.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. I think so. And I don't, I've used this phrase time and time again. I think if you take Jesus and you put him on a table along with Christmas tradition, along with atheism, along with a lot, mystic spiritual practices, honestly, I believe that he will shine with halogen clarity that people can't miss him. All we need to do is dust him off. All we need to do is take away the barriers. So I would say it's a brilliant opportunity. People will, if you talk about Jesus, people will lean in. Who wouldn't lean in at Christmas to someone who's bringing peace to the world? It's good news for all mankind.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
does that
absolutely.
include? That all mankind thing. You can look at you and say, who does that include? Like that's you and me. This is good news for us. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and it's almost a well-worn trope, isn't it, at the moment that Christmas is hard for people and seems to be getting progressively harder as cost of living goes up and people feel more isolated than ever. Maybe remembering back to the Christmas of childhood, they're thinking, I can't afford to get the presents for my children that they had, and dinner's going to look a little bit low on the ground this year because food prices are high and all that sort of stuff. And like you say, if you can center on Jesus and you can show the relevance that that story still has today, then it means you get to engage those people who are finding things a bit difficult, who maybe have lost friends and family recently, and are kind of thinking, I want the magic, but there's also something deep and real going on in my life that I want it to speak to. Which kind of leads us on to our next point is that Christmas is not just for Christmas, is it? We don't want people to come fill our event so we can say we had, 10,000 people at our service. We want people to come and explore being a Jesus follower with us, to come be part of a community of people who are following Jesus for
Yeah.
the sake of the whole world outside of them as well. So, how do we think about Christmas in terms of the follow up? How do we make sure that we don't just feel satisfied with people coming year on year, but we try and engage them throughout the year as well?
This is risky and it's brave and courageous for a leader to do this, but I think what we need to do is to change the win. Because I think for most of us, the win is we double in size at Christmas. We normally have 200 people. This Christmas, we had four. We normally have 800 people. This Christmas, we had 15, 1,600 people.
Yeah, it feels good,
Um,
doesn't it?
it does because, and I know why that feels good because I'm a preacher. Like I love it when the room's full of people coming to listen to me talk. It makes you
Yeah.
feel good. So I get it. But what if, how would it change the planning of your service? July, September time when you start really planning Christmas. How would it change the planning of your service if you said the win isn't the amount of people that turn up? That's not what we're going to celebrate. It will be great. And we know we're going to get more than usual. But that's not what we're going to talk about. That's not what we're going to celebrate. That's not what we're going to put in our little WhatsApp chats to say, hey, wasn't it brilliant? We had 600 people. What if the win was how many people came back to the January series? So it's a much smaller number. It might only be 20 or 30 people or two or three new families or whatever. But what if the win? What if the thing we talked about and celebrated, because what gets celebrated gets repeated? So what if we kept celebrating, hey, do you know, we had 20 new people turn up or 30 or 300 or whatever it might be for the January series. So the only way for that to happen is to change the win, because when you change the win, you say this is less about what our programs are going to do to advertise people come for the Christmas services, and it's more about when they come to this Christmas service, how do we convince them to come back in January? Because that's not on any of their minds. They're just coming for the Mickey Mouse Christmas fix.
Mm.
How do we make it so enticing that they say, this is something I want to come back and experience in January? Um, and I've seen churches do some brilliant things around this. Incredible things. I mean, there's ways of getting. I mean, the best way to do it is to get people's email. You might well have their email through them buying tickets, but if or ordering tickets. If on the day you've got a QR code on the back of the chair in front of you or on the screen, and you're asking people um, if you want to know what else is going on around our church, or we want to offer you, if you're new here, we want to offer you a Christmas mug to take away. Just give us your email here and we'll send it to you, whatever it might be. You're trying to get hold of their email, and then within 24 hours you email them, and you don't ask them for anything. You don't advertise January. You just thank them for coming. It might include some video clips of the service as reminders, and you might want to offer them grandma's best ever mince pie recipe, and link them to some other social media treats, and then follow up a second email maybe between Christmas and New Year, that's inviting them to this January, whatever your January series is. So you've got to make sure that your January series is really sticky. It's like, I really want to know the answer to that. I think that what you do at Christmas, everybody does the same thing. Hey, the babies come. What you do in January could be like the make or break. So don't make your January service lessons from the book of Timothy, like, because no one's going to turn up to that. We did, what did we do? We did uh, InstaFam one Christmas, like it was around the time that Instagram had started, and it was all about how to get the most from your family life this year. Um, just things that like, yeah, I want to come along to that. That could be really, really sticky. And I, make a great sticky video that you can show in the service about the January service. Again, offer flyers and that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, I make the judgment as to whether it's been successful or not. Um, how many people show up in January? I mean, I know churches that do a free T-shirt Sunday in January. Um, that you get the volunteers to wear a really nicely designed T-shirt in the Christmas services and say, hey, if you want one of these T-shirts on January the 20th, as part of our Christmas service, we're going to be giving these away to everybody who comes. There'll be one on the back of your chair. Whatever it might be, just incentives to get people to come along, and not gimmicks, but incentives for people to come along. Um, so yeah, we need to work doubly hard on January, almost more than Christmas, because Christmas sorts itself out. By the time you've done
Yeah,
four carols, a 20-minute talk, and a few video clips, that's your hour. Got
yeah,
the kids up to sing Away in a Manger. That's, and people love that. Hold some candles. That's your hour, really. Um, so, uh, uh, but to put effort and energy into making January the most sticky thing you do,
yeah.
um, is really important, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and uh, after a Christmas service, I mean, whoever you are, however you're doing Christmas, it's hard work, isn't it? It's a lot of volunteer time, it's a lot of preparation, and so the temptation to take it easy first Sunday back in January is really high because you're thinking we need to give volunteers a break. I need a break. Everyone's, chilled out over the Christmas holiday, so we'll slowly get back into it. But really, you want to kick that first service in January off with a bang, don't you? Because that's
Oh, absolutely.
it's people coming back saying, okay, Christmas is good. Everyone can show up well for one day of the year. What's this really like week in, week out? And showing
Yeah.
up your best. I mean, the whole way through the year, but especially that January, February.
Yeah.
I remember we did a work series once. We did January, February can be a hard time. You go to work in the dark, you come home in the dark. That's when, some sadness, maybe some relational dynamics pop up. So if you want the winter months of work to kick off really well, that's what we're going to be talking about because the Bible has loads to say about it.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of thing where people are like, oh yeah, that would help. I could do that maybe. I could
Yeah.
come, I'm not committing forever, but maybe for January I can commit to coming along and seeing what's going on.
Yeah. Matt, can I throw one final thought in that I think people would find useful is um, I, I don't know how to phrase it. I mean, I think the best way I can phrase it is to say just be generous to your volunteers. You're not going to pull Christmas off without an army of amazing volunteers. They're serving away from their families at the busiest time of year. So you've got to find a way of showing them that you're really grateful. And if you do that, they'll continue to serve through the rest of the year. So, like I say, we used to have a budget line that was volunteer appreciation for Christmas, and we bought people a simple gift, but it wasn't, we wrapped them in Christmas paper with a red bow and a name tag and a little personal message on the inside for them. Just things like that. We printed some volunteer exclusive T-shirts, that we just rolled and put some Christmas string around, and again, a personal message. Sometimes we did Christmas dinner for them all on the afternoon of the Christmas services. Other times we did Christmas dinner in the middle of January. We said it's really busy, but we please make sure Wednesday night, the 15th of January, whenever, we're all going to come around my house and we're going to have Christmas dinner together, kind of thing. And it was away from that season. But it's not just a brilliant time to reach new people. It's a brilliant time for your volunteers to feel incredibly valued and want to carry on for the next season. And for us, it was a great way of introducing new people into volunteering into the life of church.
Yeah, and I can speak to that as someone who served on a lot of teams under you when you were putting Sunday services on week in, week out. Not just at Christmas. I remember before we used to have Sunday services, you got a team of people together who were going to make bacon sandwiches. And so
Mm,
before the service ever started, we were all in a little room. We would have some bacon sandwiches. And I remember every single week you would find a new way of saying, this is why what you're doing is important today. Whatever role you're playing in this, we're trying to help people to understand who Jesus is, to have a clear path to understanding what life with God is like. And so what you're doing is really matters, what really matters, and that grows your faith. But you would also work really hard. You know, you were preaching on Sunday 2 or 3 times, but you would also work really hard on a little devotional thing over breakfast. And people who weren't even on serving teams would rock up early to church so that they could sneak into the team thing to hear this little devotional and have a bacon roll. And I think it's so easy, isn't it, to think, the outcome is we want those people out there to come into the community, and we forget we also have people who are already in the community who this is a great opportunity for them to find out more about what it means to follow Jesus, as
I
well.
never, yeah, I never saw volunteerism and getting volunteers as a way of helping me fulfill my mission in the life of church. I viewed volunteerism as an opportunity for me to disciple people, for me to sharpen their focus on Jesus. And so those things were obvious. And I never lost the irony of making bacon sandwiches and then talking about a Jewish rabbi. That irony never really left me. But around Christmas time as well, I used to phone up people who did the most service kind of thing. I used to phone up their spouses. I'd phone up their husbands or their wives or their girlfriends, and I would say, "Hey, what's their favorite beer? What's their favorite Christmas, chocolate treat or whatever it was?" And please don't tell them, but I'm going to get them that for Christmas, kind of thing. And I would have lots of fun. I'd spend lots of Saturday afternoons with bags of shopping, going around Marks and Spencer's trying to find that particular brand of crisps or cake or whatever it might be. So people felt really valuable. How did you know that that's the beer I like? Old Speckled Hen or whatever it might be. The Bishop's Finger, I think, was one of them. But yeah, so I just work hard with your volunteers, not just because they're going to be great and useful to you in the year to come, but because it's a brilliant opportunity to bring them closer to Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, and people, it is tiring, there's no way around it, but people who find things fulfilling and feel like they're part of a community and a family doing something all in the same direction, you can do that till you're knackered, can't you? There's a
Yeah.
that how hard it is not the limit to how much people can enjoy their Sundays, the serving experience around Christmas. That's really
Yeah.
good. So we have some resources that we're going to give people. They'll be in the description of this video. There's a Google Drive link. So just click on that link and you can download some stuff to make your Sunday services, make the planning of that a little bit easier, maybe make them a little bit more memorable, just as a gift to you. So, Duncan, you remember what we've put in there? We've got a couple of videos that people could show.
Yeah. So there's three things really. There's a transcript. There's a few ideas of what we've talked about over the past half an hour or so. There's a 12 days devotional that you can give to your people, or you can offer to guests around Christmas carols. So if you want to learn a bit more about the history of Christmas carols and how those words might apply to you today, it's a little devotional thing that you can offer in your Christmas services. Just a 12-day thing. And we've got a couple of video clips. One's an example of what one church that I know in America did, just as a fun thing they did between Christmas and New Year's, only a minute long. And the next video is something that you can take and use. It's a beautifully shot video of Christmas, the characters in the Christmas story, but as like nativity models and things that you would have around Christmas trees and on mantelpieces. And it's just children reading Luke chapter 2. It's kids reading the story. So you could easily take that vocal off and put your own vocal on it, or put your own kids' vocals on it, and make it your own. So if you want a creative, beautiful, memorable, sticky way of telling the Christmas story without just getting Uncle Frank up to open his Bible and read it, it's there for you. You can either use it as is, or you can take the vocal off and put another vocal on it. So yeah, we'd love to give them away to you for free, because we want to be as generous and as helpful as we can as a network, because we want to help you create irresistible churches, create the kind of church that unchurched people just love and can't stay away from.
Absolutely. And if there is anything at all that we can do to serve you, if you have any questions or comments or just want to reach out for some support, please feel free to do that. You can contact us through our website, leave a comment on the YouTube video, and we will get back in touch with you. Thank you for watching. Have a great Christmas, and may this be the first step in lots of people following our Savior through your local community.
And can I be the first person this year to wish you all a very Merry Christmas? Merry Christmas.